No.
No. Don't. Oh, it says it's trying to connect. So hopefully we're going to have Facebook. Sometimes it does get on Friday evenings. It seems to be a problem sometimes with it connecting. I guess the tower is overloaded or something. I don't know, but I know Randy Wharton is joining me tonight. Randy Wharton of wildtrails.org, founder and keeper of our city. That's your reputation.
Trails around the city.
Yeah, there you go. That's his reputation. Because when I was out there pitching this platform to the public, then everyone was saying, have you met Randy? Have you met Randy? Have you met Randy Wharton? Everybody knows that Randy is authentically involved in maintaining our trails and keeping our outdoors connected. I mean, it is. Wild Trails is very centric because the mountain bikers use trails, the paddleboard people use trails, the rock climbers use trails, the hang glider pilots use trails. Everybody uses the trails, and Randy looks out for our trails.
Well, we obviously Wild Trails is a big thing for me, and it's been kind of a hobby most of its life for my wife and me. I think we're 13 years old, and I've been doing this full time now for 4, I believe. So the rest of it's been, I mean, it still is a 99% volunteer based grassroots kind of organization, and so there's so many amazing volunteers that we have. I mean, it's probably in the tunes of 1,000 or more that have volunteered for trail work days or races, or we've got a big chainsaw certification program. We're doing the youth development program. So there's a lot of stuff that we're doing. So I've got Kimber Keplinger here today with us as a guest. Welcome, Kimber.
Hi.
So I don't know if I want to do a big lead in other than to say that Kimber is just one of the most genuine, awesome people that I've met in town. She is big trail runner. People. I meet a lot of people. She's a big trail runner. You did Thunder Rock the first year?
I did Thunder Rock the first
year. So we got hailed on. Yeah, twice. The 100-mile race that is, I think, without a doubt in my mind, could be the best 100-mile point-to-point course in America. It's just a phenomenal thing. We have not. We did it for 3 years and then we stopped. Sad to say, but we're going to bring back another 100-miler soon. But Kimber did the first one, and then and had been involved in a lot of stuff. I want to talk about the Girl Trail. So she was involved in this trail building project, which we were going to do, and then the girls just took over. We want it to be built by women, and so I said, I'll just stick back and watch. I guess if you need help, call me. But they did a really great job on this trail that's out at the Reflection Riding Nature Center. But Kimber's got a really awesome story. Obviously, it's tragic to a certain degree, but she has, to a big degree, actually, but she has just bounced back in a big way. So I would like, if it's all right, to just have you kind of tell your story. I'm sure you've told it 14,600 times.
Yeah, that's
now.
Okay. I'd like to know that many miles again.
I'm very eager to hear your story.
April 2nd, 2015, I was a passenger in a head-on collision, and we hit a boulder going pretty fast, and I wound up becoming entrapped in the vehicle.
Oh my.
And I had multiple breaks and fractures, and I was extricated from the car with the jaws, and I don't remember a lot of that part. I do remember realizing we were going to hit something.
Oh geez.
So I do remember that part, and I did wake up in the car briefly, and I also remember that pretty well. I've never experienced pain quite to that degree. But anyway, so I am about 3 years out from that. I just had my 5th surgery.
Oh my goodness.
I've got one more where they're going to do a rib resection, which means take it out. And I asked if I could keep it. They said
that's
no.
not fair. You're skinny enough already.
They're taking my rib.
They're taking my rib out.
Yeah, they're taking my top left rib out. I guess it got crushed.
Well, no,
sort of into my sternum,
it's tricky because one of my hang gliding incidents out when they have these fierce thermals out in Oklahoma, and I'd flown cross country and was landing out in a field that I wasn't familiar with. And long story short, I'd heard the nightmare stories about getting a thermal on final approach, but a thermal is like water shooting straight in the air and then flowing right back down at the sides. So if you're on final approach, then you're up and then you're down and you're down hard. And it knocked 4 of my ribs out.
Yeah.
And it is very, very painful. It's and then now even I'll go long periods, but every now and then one of them and it just stabs you like a knife when it happens. So I can relate to some degree. I'm not going to pretend to relate to such a horrific accident, but the rib thing is painful.
It can be. But again, I'm just glad I'm still here to have these surgeries. And I think that it changed me in a way that made me a lot more patient and compassionate for people who really are going through difficult things.
And that I've been talking about that a lot, about perspective lately. And thanks for sharing that, because that it's so important that when you go through something like that, that you do get the right perspective and move forward positively, because you sure look very healthy after 5 surgeries and going into another one. And, our healing comes mentally as much as physically. So that's really important to share, because we're talking to a lot of athletes here. And, there are injuries, and you've got to be positive through these kinds of things to move forward stronger.
That's true. And right off the bat, before I was really able to be too mobile again, just being able to go outside again was huge. Just to be able to sit outside with the sun on my face.
And how long was that? How long did it take
to
get outside for the first time?
I mean, other than being transported like from vehicles, it was it was a while.
Wow.
But
so you had
really, a lot of that is a blur.
Do you remember them removing you from the vehicle?
I remember the sound. And I had a TBI, a brain injury at the same time, which I have healed from. I still try to use it as an excuse when I forget things. I use my concussion. I don't get to use it anymore.
Yeah. I always blame it on the bad landings.
Yeah. So according to them,
I got dropped on my head a lot as a kid.
Me too.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's not the blind. It's not the blind.
Yeah. So I when I did wake up in the vehicle, I thought that with the smell of the airbags, I thought I was trapped in a burning car because I was just completely out of it. And I had a bit of a panic.
Oh, wow.
And then they covered me with a tarp, and then they started banging out the windows to try and get me.
So, enough about the crash. So after,
but I do have a good story. After I had my, I guess, second procedure, before I had my third one, where they released a lot of my nerves in my suprascapular and in my ulnar nerve, my left hand wasn't working. So for about 8 months, my left hand wasn't working. And I went and I ran JFK 50 miler up in Maryland. And my right arm was fatiguing so much because it was bearing all the weight that my crew duct taped my water bottle to my left hand. And that's how I wound up finishing it, because I couldn't grip the bottle yet. So that was, And the reason I ran JFK, because I had gotten in, it's not a difficult 50.
No.
But it's difficult to get in.
Right.
And I knew I probably was never going to be that fast again. And I was already in, so I went for it. And I wound up finishing, but I think that was worse than Thunder Rock, the recovery.
Well, it probably would.
How long was that after your accident?
It wasn't that long.
It doesn't sound like it.
Maybe just under a year.
How many surgeries in was that?
2 surgeries and a couple of procedures.
Wow. And you're out there running.
Well, and
I had my left side pretty much pinned up.
Wow. And back. I mean, not 100%, but I mean, nobody. Well,
I don't know what that is anymore.
Age, changes the whole 100% thing all over. It doesn't matter, but you're coming back. You're starting. Obviously, you're running a lot more. You're doing more. You're. So what's next? I mean, I know you like to do 100 miler again.
I would like to do
100. I would love you to consider at the end of April. We haven't announced the course yet, but I think it's safe to say we're going to do it. It is going to be the Cumberland Trail, 300 miles. So it'll be the entire distance of the Cumberland Trail as a race. And we're going to let the runners run for 24 hours without sleeping. But then for every 24 hours after that, we're going to require there's an argument now between 4 and 6 hours that you have to stay sedentary before you can start running again.
Ooh,
just
it's
because
painful to get back up,
so many people, it's just dangerous for your brain to go more than 2 nights without sleep.
How do you run a trail at night? You were like,
headlamps.
Headlamps,
I was imagining headlamps.
And crew. I mean, part of the great thing about, well, not just trail running, but all of this is the community.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you have known someone for 20 years or if you met them 2 seconds ago on the trail. They're going to look out for you.
Yeah.
Trail running community is definitely super tight knit.
And the outdoor community because we talk about that a lot on the show. It's like when we were traveling around this part of the country with hang gliders on the roof and we were checking out new sites. You pull up to a hang gliding site with a hang glider on the roof, you have a bunch of instant friends.
No, you're instant.
It's like I remember when we pulled up here in '88, we pulled up in Dunlap, and that night we're sleeping on the floor at the neighbor's house. Oh no, just come on over. It's like I love that about you. It's instant family,
and it's not just the athletes. It's
the group because you can't you can do all these races all by yourself. You don't need crew, but it's just much more enjoyable and easier with crew. So it's a 300-mile race that starts on a Saturday morning, late April. And then the next Saturday morning is the 100-miler and 100K that will start point to point. Same time, 2 different places. So all 3 races end at Ross's Landing, downtown Chattanooga.
Okay.
So think about that for your first 100-miler back, end of April.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. Just don't make us walk up the stairs like we did at Thunder Rock to get a pizza.
You'll run 300 miles, but you don't want to walk up the stairs.
It's rough.
No.
Sometimes you can't. You can't. That water is physically impossible. That was kind of.
Tell me though, for 300 miles, which just sounds so crazy to me, what is realistic to think that somebody could run 300 miles of trails? Can somebody do that in 24 hours?
No, it's not possible. The world record for 200 miles, I think, is like 30 hours. I think it's
okay.
But still quick.
It's ridiculously fast. It's not human as far as I can concern.
So I don't get the point of I'm missing it. Then I'm missing the point.
So it's over 3 days.
No, it's over however many days you want. But you can run.
But
the runners can run for 24 hours, and then they have to sleep.
Then you have to sleep.
Yeah,
I got you.
They have to stop. They don't have to sleep. We can't force them to sleep, but they can't move. And everyone, no matter what race you're going to be in, has to have a satellite transmitter.
Okay,
so we're coming up with a really cool the main reason why trail running will never really become a big mainstream sport is because there's no spectators. You can't.
Right.
You can spectate all you want on a road marathon. And it's really cool on road marathons because you can have the press crew is going to be right there, right in the faces of the athletes, but you can't do that trail running at all.
Never, because we've got drones. There's all kind.
Drones will never work on a trail. Not this part of the country. If you're in the desert, it's perfect. But so
it would be fun dodging trees with a drone.
So think about a map that has the entire course, whether it's 300 miles, 100 miles, or 100K. And then there's these little dots that have the number on it. And then you put your mouse over the number and it spreads out to the person's picture and where they're from, a little bit of facts about them. So you get to see who they are. So I think it's going to add a really cool sort of virtual spectator element to a trail race, which I don't think's ever been done to this degree before. So
that's pretty awesome.
We're super psyched about it.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. Very cool. So are you going to get in that race, Kimber?
That sounds like it. Sounds like I just committed.
She doesn't have a choice. She'll be the first.
No, all right. I will be there in some capacity.
So you're recovering you still got looking forward toward another surgery, overcoming this horrific accident, and you're out there running, but you also, do you instruct yoga? Is that what you do?
I do. I'm a yoga instructor. I teach mostly power and vinyasa type classes. But I think yoga is something that just about anyone can do.
Oh, yeah. I've done just enough to understand how beneficial it is and that there's something for everyone. So, but tell me about what did you call the types that you focus on? Power?
Mostly power and like a vinyasa flow. So when people, especially in the Western world, think of yoga, that's sort of what I teach. This really like flowy, you're trying to get strong and flexible at the same time.
Oh, okay.
And also with breathing. I mean, way back, yoga really was just breathing. It was a bunch of Brahmins sitting around thinking about breathing.
Breathing is very
7,000 years.
That's a lot what we stress, especially breathing outdoors.
Most people don't focus on their breath.
Well, without breathing, we're not here anymore. So it seems like we should pay some attention to it.
Exactly. No, it really is. And breathing outside is very, very important. And people don't there's times when I just take a quick 2-minute walk, because that few minutes of getting away from the computer and just getting outside for that limited amount of time just makes a world of difference. So when you get the benefit of founding an organization where you get to be outside all the time, it's just awesome. And I got to do that for a while. I got to be outside daily, when I was running the hang gliding shop and out flying every day that it was good. And it's you can get addicted to that because it's so healthy. It's hard to go box yourself in after that.
I think it's very depressing when you have to sit inside all of the time.
I get weather depression, especially coming from Texas. When I first moved here, it took me a while to recognize what was going on. I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm getting weather depression. It's because even when I could get outside and it wasn't sunny, I was used to have a big sky with lots of sun, and it took a while to adjust to that.
A lot of people from the West, when they come to the South, especially when they come to the Northeast, there's a lot of depression I've heard about where they're just not used to like multiple days in a row without seeing the sunshine. I mean, I'm from Colorado, and there's a hotel up in the mountains. I don't know which one, but they will give you room for free if the sun doesn't shine that day. So
it's not a sunshine.
Yeah, it's like,
and then that would make you happy anyway. So if you're depressed about no sun, at least you get a free room.
Free room.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That sounds like Colorado.
Yeah, well, it makes sense. I think there's especially after the winter we had this year. If this was somebody's first winter here coming from out west, they probably had a tough time.
It can be. I went to school in Portland, Oregon, and I lived there for about 6 years. So I gained a new perspective on rain.
Yes.
And clouds. And it didn't affect me as much. Is it
rain or is it drizzle?
It's just drizzle.
All the time.
Yeah. We don't get like a thunderstorm. We get just days and days and days. And dogs get very wet and dirty. And
you don't think about things like that, right?
Yeah. And the trails are always muddy. But I loved it.
Well, my only trip to Seattle, I was there for a week, but it was bright and sunny the whole time I was there. So
that's lucky. I don't know when you went, but
it was very windy, but very bright and sunny. So I was very happy.
We are really lucky here because we get more sunny days than the Northeast. And we get, a lot more rain than they do, which kind of seems, not fair, but when it rains here, it rains a lot.
We get over 50 inches of rain. Average
so we had a big storm. It was like, it's probably 8 years ago. And it was the biggest flooding I've ever seen in my life, which, was a lot here too. But I sent my dad a note saying, hey, we got 11 inches of rain in that one storm that lasts 2.5 days. He said, man, that's all we get all year long in Colorado or from where we're from.
Well, and my son's out in West Texas, and they just don't get any rain.
It's dry.
He'll call and tell me when it rains because it's like a big deal. Got rain. Exactly.
I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
Rough.
But telling you,
we're spoiled.
I love Texas, and we'll talk about that. We're going to take a break here in less than a minute. And Kimber and I realized that we both have spent some time in Houston. So that's really interesting. We might have to talk about that a little bit. Right. And we are going to take a break. You are listening to NoogaRadio Outdoors. We have Kimber visiting us. She's a runner who's recovered from a pretty horrific accident. And I want to talk a little bit more about that too, and how important it is in your recovery that, you have the outdoor activity and how involved you were before your accident and so forth. But we are going to take a break. We're down to about 15 seconds. Why don't you just shout out about Wild Trails real quick and take us into the break?
Randy? Yeah, wildtrails.org. We got a couple quick events. The Tap House 10K is coming up April 7th. The Tap House in St. Elmo is doing this 10K we're helping with. And the Choo Choo Chasers, which is our first race, April 28th.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, NoogaRadio. Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. 3, 2, 1. Chattanooga Radio, digital FM 95.3 HD4, 92.7 FM's news now.
Dalton teacher released on bond. An agreement has been reached for a $10,000 bond for the Dalton teacher accused of shooting a gun out his classroom window. Randall Davidson will have to wear a GPS ankle bracelet under the terms of his bond and will be under close supervision. Tennessee House Bill 1782, which will eliminate emissions testing in the state, has advanced to the full Agriculture and Natural Resources Committee. In August, the Tennessee Department of Environmental and Conservation reported that the entire state is in compliance with clean air standards. Dalton High School confirming that Jim Case, head coach for the Lady Catamounts basketball team, and Michael Duffy, head coach of the boys Catamounts basketball team, have submitted resignations. The search is on for new head coaches. Both Case and Duffy will remain as teachers at the high school. Val St. John for NoogaRadio, News Talk 92.7 News Now.
Sam Jordan, News Talk 92.7 Sports Now. Kara Rawls led a bounce scoring attack for Alabama Birmingham, scoring 14 points to go with 6 rebounds as the host Blazers advanced past round 1 of the postseason WNIT tournament, upending UT Chattanooga by a score of 60-50. UAB, who is now 27-6 on the season, Blazers with just 3 of 18 from three-point range, but held the Lady Mocs to 37% shooting from the floor. Chattanooga concludes their season with a 17-13 record, getting 16 points from Ariane Whitaker and Lakeland Bolden. In the men's NCAA basketball tournament, Tennessee blows right past Wright State with a big 73-47 victory in the first round of the NCAA men's tournament being played down in Dallas. Hamilton Heights girls basketball team have been invited to the Geico Nationals in New York, finished second in 2017. Website, Sam Jordan, News Talk 92.7 Sports Now.
Traffic, news, and information. NoogaRadio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM.
Expect more clouds to roll in through your nighttime with a few late showers pushing in from the west. Could even have a rumble of thunder, lows near 55. After an early morning shower, drier for much of Saturday. Highs warming well into the 70s with more dry and pleasant weather expected through Sunday. Get ready for a little more late winter chill for next week with Dodge City Ski Shop featuring the largest selection of cold weather clothing around, as well as the area's only ski machine. That's Dodge City, East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga. And I'm Sourcine 12, Chief Meteorologist Patrick Core.
The Tennessee Valley's news talk leader, NoogaRadio, digital FM 95.3 HD4 and 92.7 FM. Broadcasting live to over 1 million souls in Chattanooga, the Tennessee Valley, and beyond on frequency modulation 92.7. Sean Hannity, 25,000 watts on digital FM 95.3 HD4. CBS Radio News, NASCAR, Bloomberg Markets, David Tulis, streaming strong at NoogaRadio.com. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Nooga Radio, News Talk 92.7. Chattanooga Radio.
Goss Insurance. Yes, we are local. And no, we don't have an 800 number. In fact, our mobile numbers are on our business cards. We live, work, play, and worship in Chattanooga, and we would love to help with your insurance. Business, auto, home, life insurance. Call now, save money. Call Goss Insurance for all your insurance needs. Goss Insurance, 875-2500. 875-2500.
An automated nuclear missile defense system has suddenly entered into launch mode, and you are the only one who can stop it. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Your team has just been infected with a deadly virus. Your only hope? There, in an abandoned farmhouse. Escape Experience Chattanooga. Handcuffed in a maximum security prison, you have an hour to flee. Escape Experience Chattanooga. These escape scenarios and more at Chattanooga's best escape room, game, and team building platform. Call now. Slots are limited. Register online at escapeexperience.com/Chattanooga. Escape Experience Chattanooga.
For years, you have heard these words, cash, 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 and more cash. Now, Rick wants you to buy on U.S. Gold American coins. Are you tired of making 1% on your investments with the banks, even 2 or 3% at best? Well, don't miss out. Stop by Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds at 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga. Buy American. Buy now. Gold is on the rise. Certified U.S. Gold American Eagle coins at Rick Davis Gold and Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road in Chattanooga.
Chattanooga Morning News with Russ and Val. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m. on NoogaRadio, 92.7 FM.
Hey, we're back. This is NoogaRadio Outdoors. You may be listening on 92.7 FM. You may have tuned in on 95.3 FM HD4, or possibly you have the TuneIn Radio app and you're listening to us there, or Shoutcast, or we are connected and live streaming on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. And I think we're connected on Facebook now. Yes, we are live on Facebook as well. So thank you for joining us on NoogaRadio Outdoors. And thank you, Randy Wharton, always, for hanging with me on a Friday evening. And thank you, Kimber, for joining us tonight.
Sure thing.
And real quick before we jump in, I found out that Kimber's from Houston. So were you, how long have you, let's just step back along. So what got you active? Were you raised active as a child? What got you interested in running and yoga and so forth like that?
Well, we were active kids, but it was very different than it is here, where I grew up downtown Houston, like concrete.
Oh my goodness.
Jungle.
It's a challenge to be active there.
It is. I mean, everything is flat
and to find
and
people to be active with was a major challenge for me.
Right. Lots of swimming pools. So I was a swimmer.
Yes.
And I ran some track, but it was all flat. And when we moved up here, we moved right to the mountain, and I went for a run, and I thought I was going to keel over and die.
Yeah.
And it took some long.
I totally get that. I totally get it. Because mountain biking, I love mountain biking in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a lot of humps. You know?
The highest thing is an anthill.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's a little different out here.
Just a little. And if you want to see something green, I mean, it has to have been planted by someone. It's not just growing there.
Exactly. Well, that's so cool that we have Houston in common. And we were going to continue our discussion with talking about the Girl Trail, right?
So let me give you a little background on the trail. So there is a trail out, Reflection Riding Arboretum and Nature Center. Mm-hmm. There's a trail out there called the Profile Trail. So it's a single track, a pedestrian only trail that kind of goes around the lower part of the property, and There's one spot where it just jumps up on this double track, kind of was an old road. And we proposed that, hey, we're going to build this extension to the profile to keep it single track. And the cool part is then it goes through this really awesome bamboo forest. Oh, wow. So we marked it, and we got to working on it. And Kimber and another great volunteer, Summer Wolford, were there that day. I think there was only like 3 or 4 of us kind of working on it. There wasn't a whole lot. So we got it started. So we got it started, and the girls, some were kind of leading the charge on saying, we really I want to take charge of it. I want to be into this trail. She was super cool. I said, okay, great. And then Kimber got on board. There was a couple other girls, and then we brought in who was it from Brenna Kinney. Now it's Brenna Kelly, that was in the Southeast Conservation Corps. So she arguably, and her husband, have they've been building trails their whole adult lives. That's all they've ever done, I think. So she came in and gave us a little tutorial on what to do. This is back when Wild Trails first, we built trails, but we didn't know how to do it. I mean, I had some instruction back in Colorado, but we got Brenna in town, who's like national expert. So she came in and gave us a little tutorial, and I got to looking around. There's like me and one other guy and like 5 girls. And I said, what do you guys think about just taking this and only girls get to build it? It should be kind of cool. So now it's officially called the Girl Trail, and they did a great job. They rerouted it a couple places, and there's a couple steep spots, and they had to get rid of a lot of bamboo. And
there was a lot of bamboo.
It was.
I had no idea. I have all new respect for
the grass.
Yes.
It's it's a grass. Bamboo is.
That's a serious grass.
But anyway, it turned out great. It's one of the coolest trails in town. So yeah, go to the Reflection Riding and check. I mean, I don't think it's on their maps yet, but the Profile Trail will take you through the bamboo forest, hopefully, and the Girl Trail.
The Girl Trail. I love it. That's awesome. And and there's just so many trails. It's just amazing every week on this show. I learn about new trails. It's just incredible what we have access to in this area.
And it wound up being what, like 0.5?
Yeah, it's half a mile. I mean, which is,
like but it was interesting to learn that you can't just like dig a place to walk. I mean, you have to consider water runoff and I mean, there's all kinds of factors that go into a good trail that's going to last.
I mean, actually, water is, 90% of it, really. I mean, you got to pay attention to that more than anything else.
Yeah.
One big storm here. If you don't have it irrigated well, it's, if the water gets on the trail and is going to stay on the trail, it won't take long for it to just completely destroy the tread. So,
and that's a big issue too with sharing the hiking trails with the biking trails, right? Because if they get biked while they're wet, it can really mess them up really bad, right?
Yeah, for sure. No doubt. I mean, pedestrians don't do as bad as much danger as bikes, or not near as much danger as horses. But it's probably safe to say when it's really muddy out there, you really should,
stay keep off the trails. Yeah.
I don't say necessarily keep off the trails, but pay attention to where you're stepping. I mean, you want to look at where the puddles are, and you can do us all a big favor by stepping on the side of the trail that would allow the water to go off the trail. So kind of make a depression where you want the water to leave rather than stay on the trail. So I think as pedestrians, we can do a better job of helping maintaining the trails, where mountain bikes don't really have an option. They have to stay, and all of their weight has to be on those two wheels. So.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, I love the girl trail story. So there was, what else were you wanting to jump into, Randy? There was, we talked about the girls trails. Oh, I know. We were going to talk about hiking groups. That and because I shared there, it's the group that I was involved in a year or so ago. It is an issue. I always like to have somebody a little faster than me, so I'm like kind of pushing myself to keep up. But when you have, the larger the group gets, the harder it is, because you've got those that want to get some exercise of it, and the others want to get exercise too. They're just not at that level. And we had women of all ages, of all degrees of fitness. So it caused some division sometimes, because you're frustrated if you don't get enough out of your walk, but then you're frustrated if everybody's leaving you behind.
Well, one thing and there's like 3 or 4 organizations in town that lead group runs. And I think it's safe to say that runners, especially a group run, you kind of go on your own pace. I mean, you figure out what pace you want to do, and sometimes it's good to be pushed, and sometimes you want to just hang back and be more social. But it makes good sense, especially on your run, because you're out there to be out in nature for sure, but also you're out there, to get healthy and put in a good run, get in a good workout. So I think it's fairly typical that the group runs kind of go at their own paces, and everybody winds back up their cars at the end and maybe have a social thing afterwards. But a lot of hiking groups, they all stay together through the whole, so maybe they spread out, but then they meet at certain places, and then, make sure nobody gets lost, which is great. I mean, obviously there's a lot to be said about that, but I think we're starting a hiking club with, the Make-A-Wish Foundations we've worked with them for the last 2 years on this Trailblaze Challenge hike. We've had Stephanie Wilkins in here. So that has been it spearheaded a really cool, everybody that's done the Make-A-Wish Trailblaze Challenge for both years has come after that. They say, what next? I mean, we lost a ton of weight. We got healthy. I don't want to stop now and wait for next year or whatever, because it's only June through October. So we have started up this Wild Trailblazers hiking club. And I'll get Jennifer, who's gonna kind of take that and run with it on Wild Trails and Make-A-Wish behalf. And so we'll announce that fairly soon. But the idea with that is, it's a hiking club that's geared for fitness. So we're going to try to push ourselves, and we're not going to get anybody lost. There's a bunch of tools out there. We're going to teach everybody how to use the tool so you won't get lost. And then we won't leave the parking lot until everybody's accounted for.
And there you go. You're getting all the issues there, because that's a lot of it. A lot of times there was a group of us and only 2 were very familiar with the trails. So you kind of can't leave anybody behind in that situation until you've learned the trails. But those are all the areas and the bases to cover. But I like that it's intentional, that this is what this hiking group is for. But because there's also a need for the more casual walking groups, because that's where you get started. And then some people, they may have health limitations, or, they're all, that's enough for them and they benefit from that. But that's the beauty of our city. And there's so many organizations, and that's what we're trying to use this platform for, is to put enough out there where you can find your group, you can find the right fit for you, so you can get outside and get active. So that's what I love about it.
I think it's helpful going into those to have a brief discussion or description of what is going to happen on this particular event. So if it is a social walking club, people know it's a social walking club. If it's something a little bit more active, people know that that's what they're getting into. And then sometimes you can avoid these angsty situations.
Right. Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest hurdles that we all are trying to get our community to overcome is, getting rid of the myths of the trails and the wilderness. And not everybody, but there's a lot of people and a lot of leaders and a lot of teachers and parents that think that the wilderness is a dangerous thing that's out there to kill you, and the snakes are going to bite and the trees are going to fall on you, and there's bad guys out there to kill you, and there's this and that. I mean, there are dangers without doubt. I'm not saying there aren't, but it's probably also safe to say, statistically, getting out in the wilderness, especially on known trails around Chattanooga, is probably the safest place you can be. Because
if you hadn't said that, that's exactly what I was going to say. Because and look at the consequences of not getting out and just getting active. Period.
But stay on the couch. You're probably going to die of a heart attack or something if you're not active. At some point, being inactive is going to really hurt your health, without question.
Right. And that's the beauty of these organizations and these groups, is you don't have to, you can make it safe. People look out for each other. People are at the end of the trail, making sure that everybody makes it to the end of the trail. So that's what we're trying to
utilize. And we have technology. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I would never take my cell phone out on a trail. I'm out there to bond with nature, and I know where I'm going, and sometimes I get lost on purpose. I like that, but there are applications you can put on your phone that will guarantee that you won't get lost if you pay attention. You know how to use it. There's alarms that go off if you get off the trail.
Regular GPS, it's crazy. It will work. I've used it on Signal Point several times. I get a little turned around and I pull. Okay, no, we're right. This is good.
I think if that's what people need to feel more secure on the trails, and that's what they should do.
Right. And I guess
they shouldn't feel bad about it.
Yes. No, they shouldn't at all. And that you just said a key thing, because that's what, when I get back out there, I've gone about a year after being a very, very active person, riding my bike a lot, being involved in a hiking club. I haven't been active for about a year. I started a business. I've had some health issues, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to be so hard, but I've done it enough to know it's only going to be hard the first few times. But the people who haven't done it as often as me don't know that that's a very brief period of time. It is, you are slow at first. It is hard at first. You do, but it's just what it takes to get started. And people understand that. They've all been there. And that's what we want to do, is just encourage you to get started.
Yeah. Going in, accepting that it's going to be a little bit more tricky at the beginning is, you've won half the battle right there.
And you're not going to be at it alone. I mean, there's probably hundreds of people out there, no matter where you are in the speed of things, that are going to be your same pace. Exactly. So, the best thing you can do is just get started. I mean, Chattanooga Hiking Club is awesome. And, this, Wild Trailblazers, hiking club is about to start. So, just give us a shot. I mean, give it a try. I mean, guaranteed you won't get lost. We won't leave you behind. And it's a lot safer than you think it will.
Yes, it is. And I love that some of the guests you've had on, you've brought some of the leaders at some of the schools. I don't remember exactly, where there are programs dedicated. Was it Baylor? And then
Baylor has. We'll walk about pretty much all the the high schools have some sport. I mean, actually, there's a lot of them. A lot of the public schools have some kind of outside.
So important. It's like, and I had Brian Kelly on this morning. He's announced as a top financial advisor in Tennessee, statewide, in Forbes magazine. But he is very, very involved in the arts, and that's a key thing that a lot of these art organizations do, to expose people at a young age to the arts. And in the same way, you need to expose them to the arts, and you need to expose them to the outdoors, because then it's not just that they're familiar with it, but it's an innate, and is that the right word? Innate in all of us. But then it's just conditioned into you at that point. Because that's me. We camped when I was younger. We were outside all the time. We were Florida kids, outside on our bikes and so forth like that. But the camping and the skiing and all that just really infused that outdoor thing into me, where I love it.
I think, that it's safe to say that a lot of people, probably the age of, 40 and above, had some form of outdoor experience. But I think it's safe to say that most kids right now, especially if you're grow up in the inner city, it's rare that they have any kind of outdoor experience. I mean, outdoor meaning in the wilderness, and having some kind of deep woods nature. Real outdoors experience. Because like Kimber and I shared earlier, I formed a group on Facebook in Houston with the complete intention of finding women or people, but women to be active with. And about almost a year into it, one of the women on there would go mountain biking with me and kayaking. It was really, because it's not easy to have access. You have to go to more effort to do those things there.
That's true, yeah.
So it was really
a lot of treadmills.
Yes,
exactly.
Well, nowadays it's more and more that you see that kids that grow up, with outdoor experience, as a prime part of their rearing, which was me. I mean, I grew up with the woods in my backyard. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, there was a rare day that went by that I wasn't out in the woods or out in the cornfield or whatever. But it's just really sad. In fact, there's a book out that I've just finished reading it the second time. It's really sad. It's called Last Child in the Woods. And it describes this thing called the nature deficit disorder, that we are as a species, we're supposed to be engaged with the rest of the wilderness and animals and plants and trees and bugs and whatever. And now there's so many kids that don't have the slightest clue about nature, and it's what they see on TV, and they look at, and they're fear-based. So they see all the things about alligator hunters and, the stuff in Africa and whatever, that they think that's the way it is everywhere. And it's really a sad situation. Hopefully we can get more kids out involved. And if there are kids out there, parents and teachers, whatever, that want to get their kids out involved with Wild Trails, please contact us, info@wildtrails.org. And we'd love to. I mean, everything that we do, kids are welcome, and we can find a place for them. And with exception of the chainsaw thing we got going.
Yes, no, don't do that. And we've had some great young people, and I look forward to featuring some more student age people on the show, because I love hearing their stories. And there's one, there's a couple of them I have in mind. I'll share with you, Randy, that are competing in some different things and doing some great things. And I look forward to having them on the show soon and sharing about their successes and accomplishments. Again, you're listening to NoogaRadio Outdoors. This is NoogaRadio Outdoors on 92.7 FM or 95.3 FM HD4. And Randy Wharton is here with me, and Miss Kimber has joined us. And we are just talking about the great outdoor scene, the great outdoor culture that we have here in Chattanooga. And this platform is to help people to not to connect to the outdoors, but to connect to the people that can connect them to the outdoors. And those of you that are listening, that if you're not active and you've been telling yourself you want to be active, just keep listening, keep tuning in on Fridays, or we live stream on YouTube and Facebook, and you can follow us there. And we're going to have lots more guests on that are involved in all kinds of activities. We've had paddleboarding on. We've talked about hang gliding. We need to get the Sorba guys back on. I've had them on before. And there's just we have access to so much here in our city.
So much in Chattanooga.
Yes. And I'm learning about things like squirt boating and, and different things. That's what I love, that Randy's, he knows so many people. He's so centric to the community. There's new, do you know about squirt boating?
I actually don't know. You said that and I was like, what?
Did I say it right, Randy?
Yeah. Well,
that's something Randy made up.
No, yeah. the 3-time world champion was on the show.
How many people compete in these?
He didn't give me that, but he made it sound that there's not a whole lot. But okay. I mean, it's basically an interesting thing. That's a flat boat that allows it to dive down underneath the water, and no life vest. So you're under the water, and how long can you stay down?
And it's
under
that time,
the water?
And we'll be having some more kayakers on the show. So be sure and join us every Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, NoogaRadio Outdoors. That's a wrap.